There is a poem of T.S. Eliot, and it's one of the 4 quartets, and it starts with something like, "In my end is my beginning," or "in the end there's already the beginning." And this came up when I kind of look into where we are now, in the process that we are now. And like what I sense right now in myself, but maybe also in the field around me, is a certain kind of sadness. And it's like when we come at this point, or to this point at a retreat, there's always like almost that feeling of don't quite want to go there yet. Yeah, when we are further on, it just, then there is the movement and we roll on, kind of. But at this point in time, at least that's what I'm sensing right now, and I know it from other times, is that there's almost like, this feels really good right now. I don't quite want to make the next step. Yeah, and yet I know this is what's going to come, and it will be fine, and so on. But right now, this is what I'm feeling. And as we come to the end of this retreat, I want to take the opportunity at first really to say how much I appreciated this time, and I really feel like more and more it feels like we have become, all of us individually have become of something much bigger than just this. Yeah, like this is, or you could also say like this is anyway always part of something that is bigger than this. And maybe during a time like this, there becomes, or there grows more the awareness, the understanding of what that actually means, what that actually can be, and how that can be felt. Like at the end of a retreat, like there are lots of things what one can point at is kind of, well, one thing I like to repeat because I really think it's relevant is when you move on from here, it's like really to bring your awareness towards what is it actually that you take with you from here. What is it that, for you personally, what is it that might continue to nourish you, that might be something to integrate even more into your life out of this. And like I mentioned before, like in one of the interviews, somebody said, like, when I come home, or when I come back to my place after a retreat like this, I feel like there is almost like a field of protection around me, because I feel that for a while at least, that nourishment of the retreat, the support of the retreat is staying with me, and I don't have the need to rush very quickly into anything else. So if that is something that you have experienced during the retreat, that you feel nourished, that you feel like through the practice, through the teachings that have happened here, you have come to in a place where you actually feel this is safe, this feels good, this is where I feel nourished. I really want to encourage you, see what can you take of that with you. Can you bring this into the rest of your life, or what of this can you bring into the rest of your life? And how do you say? And then also take care of it. Yeah, take care of it, because it takes care of you. And so I think what's of course very important is to see how you can set up times of practice. Like sometimes when we come back from a retreat, like almost like the rest of the life is taking over, and we forget how important it is to have really periods of time where we take care, yeah? And it means times where we really sit down and connect with where we are now, with what is happening now. I mean, when we look at the rest of the world, it's pretty overwhelming. It's pretty bad. And yet we do live with that. We have to find ways of living in this world almost like without really being part of it. It's like, let me just start off. At the breakfast this morning we had a conversation about just generally what's going on and what's happening out there. And like what came up for me, and it's not the first time of course that I'm looking into that direction, but what I feel is important, that, I mean, for myself to know that I can't change. No. I can't. No, leave the windows open by all means. I can't change the rest of the world. Yeah? As you see, the world goes on, it happens. And it's okay, you know. But where changes happen are here. Yeah? They are here in our heart, in the citta. This is where we can actually do some work, and that work is relevant. Yeah? And to really remember, to remind yourself, like, I mean, I wish I would be able to change the world into a better place. Of course I would. But honestly, I wouldn't even know where to start. It's just like, I think it's so messed up that the only place where we can make changes, where we can do some work is internally and in the field around us. Yeah, it's like if you are, like say, it does make a difference to your friend if you are available for him or her when they are in difficult times, when they go through difficult times. This is where we can do something, yeah. Or if you see like there is like in the German word is in deinem Umfeld, in the field around you, there is something that needs attention, and you can do it. Yeah, do it. Yeah, it doesn't mean that we get lost in passivity and say, well, anyway, I can't change the world, so I'm not doing anything. But it's more, again, like using discernment. Where does it make a difference when I bring awareness, when I bring also the energy into making changes that are necessary? Yeah. So, in a way, there is a responsibility that we hold and that we carry, and yet that's not all of it. And I just remember another poem, and it's I just heard it recently. It was something like, or one part of it was something like, when there is a small stream or a small river, it doesn't mean it can nourish, it can feed a whole desert. But actually it can nourish and it can feed and support the area around it. And that is what I meant. That is what I meant by bringing your awareness into the world or the field that you are living in. One very important aspect of our spiritual path, of our spiritual life, is that we keep in connection with the outer and the inner friends. And I think it's really very important to notice, like, are there areas in your life where you need to bring more energy into that? It's like, for example, when you come home and you live in a place where there are not really lots of spiritual friends around you, it's important to build something up where you can meet others, where you can practice together, when I say build something up, I don't mean you have to form a meditation group, but maybe go to places where people meet for practice. And through practicing together with others, as you have experienced here in the retreat, there's coming an element in your life that is almost like, I would say, that's really necessary. Because when we live away from that aspect of nourishment, after a while it's almost like we can get into an isolation where we start questioning, is it really still happening? Do I just lose all the nourishment that I gained on the retreat? And it's so important to have your regular practice established, but also to practice together with others. And coming to places like this, or if you live in an area where you are able to join another group that is meditating, I really recommend that. And I really recommend having regularity in your practice, even if your life is very full and very stressful. Make sure you have certain times in the day where you really sit down and where you really do the practice. Even if it is like say to start with, even if it is just 15 minutes a day. But if you have that, that's better than nothing. And I think it's very important to see that if we are kind of coming from the point, and it's not enough, and I rather don't do that, it's kind of slipping away, yeah. And for the building up, for the development of awareness, for really working what needs attention, we need to keep on going. It doesn't help us if we from time to time do a little bit here and do a little bit there. It doesn't really establish the nourishment. It doesn't really keep us, it doesn't really keep us going. So that is some aspect I find, also for myself, I find really very important. And another thing I like to bring in here is, I don't know how you experienced this retreat. For me it was like, through Ajahn Sucitto's teachings, I really felt like I came in contact with, a part in my practice that I haven't really discovered in that way before. And I'm very grateful for you, Ajahn, for especially like your teachings on the citta and what is actually happening, and your guide, like your meditation guidance yesterday morning. I really felt like, and I hope that for many others here it was the same, I really felt like you brought in a level of practice that actually is available. It is there, and it's up to us really to move into, almost like to move into that energetic field. Yeah, it's there all the time, and it's available, and it is nourishing, and it really helps us to free ourselves from unnecessary luggage. Like I remember earlier on the retreat, I mentioned to you that we carry so much stuff around with us almost all the time, and it's heavy, and sometimes it's really kind of pulling us down, and it's like this old stuff that we really have to be willing to allow it to move on and out of our life. And I really feel like with this kind of practicing, it helps us at first really to connect with it, but then also it helps us to actually allow it to move through that space and to also move on and out of it. And a lot of these old limitations, like I liked very much the simile that came yesterday also in with the sheep, yeah, jumping over the hurdle that's not there anymore. And I think it's great because I don't know about you, but I see myself jumping when I don't have to. Yeah? It's just like old habits, and sometimes we do almost cling to those old habits because it's something that I somehow know. Yeah? Even it is unpleasant, but somehow I know it. So let's jump again. and I really feel with the teaching that at least I felt came from Ajahn Sucitto into this retreat were really showing me, well, actually, this is where the jump happens. Yeah? This is it. And actually I have a choice. I have a choice not to jump. I have a choice to allow almost like an inner space to unfold where the phenomena can move in, and if I manage not to attach, to hold on to identify, then actually they can just, it's almost like you're watching a film, like you're watching a movie, yeah? And if I don't identify these phenomena, they're just passing through. And I don't need to analyze where they are coming from and what kind of drama is connected to them. Often there isn't if I'm not creating it. And I hope it's clear, that's what I mean by not holding on to old luggage. Like these phenomena, they might be related to former times in our lives, but we don't need to recreate those. Yeah? Sometimes we need to go back emotionally into certain places because it really needs direct work and direct experience with it. But there are lots of things that we carry around with us, and we don't have to do that anymore. So I really want to encourage you, when you see in your practice these things coming up in your everyday life, these old habits taking over, find ways of not getting caught anymore in them. Yeah? Find ways of trusting that you don't have to believe in those old voices that tell you all kinds of things. But are they really true? Are they really the voices of wisdom? And to question that. Okay, I think I stop here. I really do wish you well, and I hope to see you back sometime practicing together again.